Hey everyone, today we are going to be making a Chinese New Year classic, 狮子头 or lion's head meatballs.
The ingredients are
Minced pork, ginger, spring onions, 1 egg, Panko, shaoxing wine and soy sauce, oyster sauce, white pepper and 5 spice, cornstarch, chicken stock, water chestnuts.
Now you're simply going to mix it together with a pair of chopsticks. Take your time to do this because you want to make sure that the ingredients are evenly distributed. We are first going to fry the meatballs in hot oil, and I'm using the good old wooden chopstick in hot oil trick to make sure the oil is hot enough. There is no real trick to this, you just want to make sure that the meatballs are roughly the same size. There is one thing to note, my hands are kind of doing this off camera, but I'm slapping the meatball between my hands left and right, and this motion actually helps to knock out some of the air pockets in the meatball. Doing so will help the meatball stay together because having too many air pockets can mean that the meatball breaks apart when you fry it. The meatballs are essentially done frying when they develop this golden brown color on the surface. You do not need to cook them through. And this is roughly the color that you're looking for. Next, we are going to build our braising liquid, which will eventually turn into our sauce. I'm adding in the white part of the spring onion together with some garlic and ginger and letting that saute for about a minute to cook out the raw flavor. Then I add in the liquid portion, which contains light soy sauce, dark soy sauce, oyster sauce, and chicken stock. As you can see, the oyster sauce is a bit more viscous, so give it a stir before you add it in. All the measurements for the ingredients are listed in the description down below. Now just bring it to a simmer and let it simmer for about 5 minutes, letting the flavor of the garlic, ginger, and spring onion infuse into the liquid. We turn the pre-fried meatballs into this delicious liquid and let it simmer on low for about 10 minutes. If you think about it, this is honestly not unlike Italian meatballs. Instead of getting a pre-sear as you would with Italian meatballs, we are here getting a pre-fry. Both these methods give you a Maillard flavor and also kind of firm up the outside of the meatball so they don't break apart. Plus, instead of cooking the meatballs through in a tomato-based sauce, we are simply swapping that out for a seasoned soy sauce. Like I said, technique-wise, a lot of similarities, but flavor-wise, completely different. At this stage, I felt that the sauce needed a bit of spice, so I added in a bit of dried chili, but feel free to omit this if you don't want it too spicy. To ensure that the meatballs were done, I probed them with a temperature probe, and I was shooting for about 75 to 80 degrees Celsius. Now this is just a little presentation flourish. I am lining a bowl with steamed vegetables, but you obviously don't have to do this. In fact, I was starting to regret this about halfway through. Now you can simply spoon over your meatballs without any of the braising liquid, and the reason why we're doing that is because we're going to turn that braising liquid into a sauce. And yes, I may have a little bit of OCD when it comes to plating. Anyway, back to the sauce, we are going to use a cornstarch slurry to thicken it up. And there is no real ratio here, you just need to add enough water to completely dissolve all the cornstarch you're using. So quick tip for using a cornstarch slurry, you never want to add it to boiling hot liquid because that will give you clumps. So what you do is turn the heat off, let the liquid cool down for a minute or two, and while you're stirring, add in this cornstarch slurry and then bring it back up to a boil. You need to boil the liquid because that will show you the maximum thickening ability of the cornstarch you've just added. For this dish, I go for quite a thick sauce because I really want that sauce to cling onto the surface of the meatball. You are definitely going to have a surplus of sauce, but I add it all to the bowl because I just think that whoever wants it can use it as a sauce for rice. The sauce is incredibly tasty, so I really wouldn't let it go to waste. I add in a final sprinkle of spring onions for a pop of color, and because why not?
Alright, so let's try this. This actually turned out really good. I don't know why I sound surprised, maybe I just have very little faith in myself. A few things that you want to take note of if you're trying this at home. You just want to make sure that your meatball is nicely seasoned before you start frying it. One way to check is to just pan fry or microwave or steam a tiny little nugget and taste it. Second of all, you want to fry your meatball quite hard just to get that really nice crusty exterior, and that's going to give you much more of that Maillard flavor as well. And the third point is to not overcook your meatball, and I checked with a temperature probe To make sure that the meatball was not overcooked, I think you should aim for a temperature of about 75 degrees Celsius, which would bring it up to maybe about 80 after it's rested. And that will give you a meatball that's still juicy but completely safe to eat. Next point is to make sure that you thicken your sauce enough, because the sauce actually needs to be thick enough to glaze the exterior of the meatball. All that being said, this was an excellent dish. I am super glad I tried this. To anyone that's celebrating, I just want to wish you a very happy Lunar New Year. I hope you give this a try. Let me know how it goes, and I will see you on the next video.